In 2018, a small group of data scientists came across a list of 100 million YouTube videos that was made back in 2010. Taking the opportunity to study how YouTube videos rose and fell over the years, they wrote a script to go through them automatically, but quickly noticed an unfortunate pattern starting to form. If you've never found yourself trailing a faint memory of a YouTube video from 15 years ago, consider yourself lucky, because 50% of those videos were deleted. Now, when something's missing, there are still people out there who are determined to give you options. The Wayback Machine, with their damn near infinite determination and storage, managed to recover 5% of these deleted videos. Absurd in the grand scheme of things, but realistically not making much of a dent. So when a deleted video pops back in your mind a decade later, maybe even growing in infamy to the point where a search team forms, there are usually only 3 avenues to take. The Wayback Machine, like I said earlier, a reupload, or contacting the person who uploaded it. When all of these routes fail, that's usually when these sorts of cases are considered cold. One search got too big to stop there. That's when the meta started to shift. This is Super Mario 64 Big Star Secret. Back in the late 2000s to early 2010s, this video posed up as a tutorial to unlock some vague, dark secret in Super Mario 64. Most people, given the culture of the time, thought this was going to unlock Luigi. Over 700,000 people tried to keep up with this ridiculous, unorthodox tutorial where Mario is blue and every text box is swearing at you, but right in time for the grand reveal, this video pops up. The one with the screaming zombie. Videos that incite a riot in the comments section don't tend to stay up for long. Not to mention the audio being swapped out to some happy-go-lucky EDM and the jump scare being muted along with it. The whole thing got turned into a bit of a husk of its former self. So, for 100 different reasons, it got wiped out by the end of 2011. But anyone who's been faked up by a fake tutorial or a fake game trailer or an entirely fake game knows that those things stick with you. So in 2020, with everyone stuck inside, a decent subset of those 700,000 viewers started thinking back to that first time they got jump scared. And every single one ended up in the same forums or Reddit communities with the same sentiment. They couldn't find it. One witness in particular, one with a background in video production, started tracking down all these viewers to make a short passion project about this stupid, mysterious screamer video. And through some ridiculous twist of fate, people found it interesting. So interesting, in fact, that the founder of the Lost Media Wiki took the opportunity to kick off a community-wide search for it in its multi-thousand member Discord server. Things started to move fast. Someone found the title, then the uploader. They managed to track him down on PSN of all places. He was in the Discord server the next day, and he didn't have it. The Internet Archive didn't either. Within 2 months, the hunt was declared a cold case. So all 3 routes failed. What's next? In the late 2010s, Adobe announced that they'd be killing off Flash Player by the end of 2020. What once powered the internet was now ultimately a husk of its former self, and Adobe chose the nuclear option. One Flash developer, Blue Maxima, realized he only had a couple years to outrun the storm, so he created Flashpoint, a project meant to preserve as many Flash animations, games, and websites as possible. They used the same core methods as most other online scavenger hunts, but their growing popularity gave them an advantage. So when you visit a website and the page has to load some other file like an image, a video, or a Flash game, your browser temporarily stores that in an area that most people call the cache. For the next few days or so, whenever you visit that website again, you might notice it loading a hell of a lot faster, because everything it needs is already on your computer. The developers of Flashpoint knew this better than anybody. Armed with a list of long-lost Flash games, they pioneered a new outlandish technique to find internet stuff. If someone played one of these sought-after games and managed to leave their computer alone just enough for the files to not get deleted, that game would be sitting in the cache. Now, everyone was well aware that these odds were near zero, but if they could get this process out to any subset of their huge audience, then they might be able to find one. So they worked on getting the word out, and by the end of their prime, when Flash was finally dead and buried, the results showed for themselves. Out of a list of 32 lost games, Flashpoint had found 6 of them. Naturally, the people looking for Big Star Secret ended up hearing about this miraculous long shot, but with only one video on their mind and no large audience to check, the consensus came down to it's impossible. So that video got cast aside and was doomed to sit with the hundreds of other equally unimportant lost YouTube videos for the rest of time. That was until 4 years later. One searcher, after exhausting every other option, decided to check back in with an old computer for 2011 just to see if he had any videos in his cache. That's when he realized something strange. In a hidden folder meant for temporary storage, he found 50 very large files with seemingly random names. After further investigation, he realized that these were all videos, spaced out over the course of 2 years. Now, we have to back up a little here to figure out what's going on. Whenever you watched a YouTube video back then, the video would be copied to two places, the browser's cache and Flash Player's cache. The browser keeps track of everything in its cache, so there's very little that can stop it from clearing, but Flash Player only keeps track of what it makes in a single session, from startup to shutdown. Here's the issue with that. Shutting down through the menu is fine, but if your computer is shut off in any other way, like holding the physical power button, pulling the plug, or having a power outage, Flash Player will forget to delete its copy of the video. In the context of a screamer video, where children can easily act out of panic, this is not off the table. So a small team forms with a new goal: contact everyone who's seen the video. Some managed to pull out tens, if not hundreds, of videos using this newly coined cache method, but none were the Mario Screamer. In May of 2025, however, one witness was pulled out of a comment section with an interesting anecdote.
I think I ran down the stairs and had my grandmother turn it off for me. I'll try and look into getting it turned on again.
This was a 1 in a million account. Shutting it down is one thing, but it's more likely than not that someone who didn't grow up with or around computers would rely on intuition to turn it off, or more specifically, by using the physical power button. This could be it.
It's just like it's
The file system is raw. It's not available for raw drives.
What the hell is a raw drive?
The hard drive was corrupted, 0 bytes were able to be read, and it caught fire within 2 hours. The dream is dead, and then 4 days later, some other guy shows up like, "Hey guys, is this it?" This is full, unfiltered footage of Super Mario 64 Big Star Secret, the first 47 seconds at least. A user on the Lost Media Wiki, Peter, was checking through his old browser cache as a bit of a weekend activity, not even having the video on his mind, and found it. Unfortunately, he clicked off early, cutting the video off, but the interesting thing about this is that he clicked off. He closed the tab. There was no shutdown to stop the file from clearing, so how did he have it? This is where the scene completely falls apart. Peter had 5,000 videos sitting on his hard drive uncleared for 17 years. This wasn't some circumstantial bug like the shutdown glitch. His browser was broken. Everything that he'd ever seen on the internet, every image, every video, every game, every little soundbite, it was all there. Whether it was a glitch or a virus, the index file that kept track of everything, the only thing that could mark all those videos for deletion, was gone. So logically, everyone ran to Flashpoint to see if they'd encountered anything like this, and they hadn't. But that's not to say it was uncommon. The standard, universally accepted program that Flashpoint used to check people's cache relied on that missing index file. If someone with Peter's bug ran their exporter, it would say they have nothing in their cache, period. And you might jump to say that their chances could have been better if they somehow knew about this, but this whole conversation led to another revelation. When Flashpoint as a whole uncovered 6 games through internet cache, this was not from 10,000 computers. I'm sure you could assume that, but it didn't even touch the thousands. In fact, the amount of people who checked in with Flashpoint, the total number of people who went out of their way to see if they had anything important in their cache, did not exceed the double digits. Peter's glitch was far, far from the only thing that could stop cache from clearing. The reason that so few pieces of lost media have been found through internet cache is not inherently because it's unlikely, it's because people think it's unlikely. So let's really try to put these odds into perspective. Peter is one of the admittedly few people out there who would know where to find their cache, how to interpret it, and how to find YouTube videos. Not only that, but these traits would also have to overlap with him being aware of this relatively niche lost media hunt, because to be clear, Peter did not remember watching the video. The way all these odds lined up for one of the most prized deleted YouTube videos of all time is almost too good to be true, to the point where it's clear to me that this isn't as much of a miracle as we might think. If cache recovery as a concept could be justified to a mainstream audience, the amount of stuff that could get found is frankly ridiculous. So this video is ultimately a call to action. In the description, there's an open source program that will search your cache for you, frame by frame analysis against a built-in list of over 500 lost YouTube videos that were deleted as late as 2021. If you have an old computer, or if you have an audience that might be interested in this kind of stuff, please consider reviewing this. This is a huge number of people's last chance, and there is money on the line. I have spent hundreds of hours making sure this is as easy to use as possible. I've analyzed hundreds of possible edge cases where it would potentially break. If this doesn't work, then I genuinely don't know what will. If you have any lost videos that you want the program to search for, you can submit them on the website. If, this is your last chance too.